Good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to your offline class science. Okay, students. Uh, Before going to start the chapter, the topic of the chapter number 15, that is air around us, I'm going to discuss some topics that I have already described. Just I am going to tell the topic that I have told you in previous class, including the components of air and components of air including carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, and smoke and dust, and also water vapor. These all things that I have already discussed, and how they are actually helping, okay, and which gas actually carry out so many function there we have seen, and which has helps in combustion or burning something, and which actually helps in extinguish, okay, and that we have already learned. Now today I'm going to discuss about the topic subtopic 15.3, that is from your NCERT book science, page number 151, okay, and how does oxygen become available to animals and plants living in water and soil. In the previous class we have discussed that in air there is presence of oxygen. Now how can we conclude that oxygen is present in water? Now for such conclusion that oxygen is present in water, there is an experiment that is already in your book, so try to follow me, okay. In your book activity 5, it has been written that take some water in a glass or metal container, heat it slowly on a tripod stand, and well before the water begins to boil, look carefully at the inner surface of the container. Now you can see very small bubbles on inside, okay. So these bubbles comes from the air dissolved in water. So air is actually coming from the atmosphere, and this air dissolved in water, and when we trying to boil the water, then such bubbles are coming out from the surface of the container in the form of bubble. These are actually oxygen, okay. So when you heat the water, they will begin with, and the air dissolved in it is escape, and so we have learned that animals living in water, they use dissolved oxygen in water. So in water there is dissolved oxygen, so means from air there the oxygen is dissolved in that water, so that the animals, the aquatic animals or the animals which live in water, they can easily utilize the oxygen from the water, okay. Now there are so many example. First I comes to plants. As you know, they may grow in the soil, also in water, you know. Now how they get their oxygen or carbon dioxide? During respiration they also require oxygen, but during their food making process, that is known as photosynthesis, there is uh, essentiality of carbon dioxide. As you know, in their photosynthesis process or the food making process, uh, in the presence of sunlight and energy, they actually take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and they prepare their own food in the chlorophyll present in their leaves. By this all things and raw products, they prepare their own food, so that they are called autotrophs, and their mode of nutrition is called autotrophic mode of nutrition, and they are photosynthetic, as they can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis, so they are called photosynthetic. Understood this point? I hope you understood. Now comes to aquatic animals. That I have already told, that as there is presence of oxygen in the water, actually the oxygen is dissolved in the water, so that the aquatic animals can utilize the oxygen for their breathing process, okay. To carry out their function, oxygen is very necessary for them also, okay. So we have seen aquatic animals also utilize oxygen, okay. Now comes to third number point, that is Have you ever heard of amphibians? Amphibians means those animals which lives in both water and land, just as frogs. Now, how they breathe through? They also uh, they also require oxygen for their breathing process. Now, as you have learned that amphibians lives in both in water and on land also. Okay, so when they are they are in water, they respire through their moist skin. So amphibian, they respire through their, when they are in water, they respire through moist skin, and when they lives on land, they respire through lung. They breathe through lung. They also have lung, just like us. Okay, so understood this point. Now comes to bird. Fourth number point, that is bird. Now, bird have also lungs, and these lungs are made of air sacs. Those air sacs are always found in open form, as they require oxygen very much. At their air sacs are always in open state, so that that amount of oxygen is required by them for their flight. Okay, so for flying method or for flight, so much oxygen, so big amount of oxygen is required for them, so that their air sacs always remain open. Okay, so their lungs having air sacs. Okay, their lungs having air sacs. Understood this point? I hope you understood. Okay, now comes to mammals. You know, mammals, they actually respire through lungs, and they take in oxygen and expel out carbon dioxide. Now this is not totally true. We also inhale oxygen, carbon dioxide and other gases also. But the amount of oxygen we inhale, that is more than that of other gases, and we also exhale oxygen. But the amount of carbon dioxide, that is more than that of other gases. So by totality we can say that more amount of oxygen we inhale and more amount of carbon dioxide we exhale. Okay, so I hope you understood this point, students, and if you have any problem you can ask me. And there is another example also, another activity. Now in activity 5 we have learned that in water there is presence of oxygen. Now in soil, how this presence of oxygen can be determined, there is also another another experiment, that is activity 6 from your book, page number 151. Just try to follow me. I am reading this portion. That take a lump of dry soil in a beaker or a glass and add water to it and note what happens. Do you see bubbles coming out from the soil? So whenever you have to just collect some portion of soil and just put it in a beaker, then add water slowly, you may have seen, you can see that there are some bubbles that are coming out from that water. These bubbles are nothing but due to presence of oxygen, these bubbles are coming out from the soil. Okay, now when the water is poured on the lump of soil, it displays the air which is seen in the form of bubbles, and the organisms that live inside the soil and the plant roots are, you know, plants roots, they are actually rooted in the soil. So plant roots respire in this air. Okay, and a lot of burrows, holes are formed in deep soil by the animals living in the soil, and these burrows also make space available for air to move in and out by the soil. Okay, and however when it rains heavily. Now water fills up all the space occupied by the air in the soil, and in this situation animals living in the soil have to come out for respiration. And could this be the reason why earthworm come out of the soil only during heavy rains? Okay, so this is the main event that I have discussed. In the next class, I will discuss about the next subtopic, that is 15.4 from your page 152. How is the oxygen is in the atmosphere is replaced? How is the oxygen in the atmosphere is replaced? Okay. I hope you understood, and if you have any problem, you can ask me in the e-portal. Okay, students? That's all. Thank you. Have a nice day.